Good morning, YouTube. It is 5:36 a.m. on July 21st, 2024. I'm watching a video called Unlocking the Secret Ingredient Most Food Forests Are Missing by Perma Pasture Farm, the Perma Pasture Pimp, as he's called, I think. um, yeah, let's just dive right into it, and we can talk as we go.
Wondering how to completely outfit your food forest or your orchard? Well, we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to explain why these Chinese yams, along with these ear tags that are really meant for those sheep behind me, we're going to explain what they all have in common. Before we get rocking, Homesteaders United, August 29th through the 31st. I'm going to be there. Fit Farmer's going to be there. The Sprinkle with Soil crew is going to be there, and a lot of other people. But one of the biggest surprises is my son, the pasture-raised pimp, William, is going to be there as well, along with my grandbaby. And if I'm squeezing on my little grandbaby a little too much, you'll understand the reasons why.
That's a proud grandpa right there.
Now that the excitement is out of the way, let's get into the other excitement. Okay, I have Chinese yams here, and I have ear tags. And this idea, once again, I want to make sure I give a shout out to whom it's due, and that's Flomaton Famous. They do really awesome stuff on that YouTube channel, and they're the ones that gave me this idea as far as marking my trees with ear tags that go on the sheep, because I've always hated the fact that they either... Anyway, this is the coolest way that I've found yet. And what I have on here, I usually use copper wire, but what I have handy is some stainless number...
That's really brilliant. I think what he was about to allude to is the tags that you normally buy either fade or crack or blow away. They just don't last more than a season, really. Maybe 2 seasons. But a tag, I could totally see that lasting, a decade, easy. They hold up really well to the UV stress. They're just meant to be exposed to much more stressors than a tree tag would be. So I can totally see how that would benefit and last much longer.
I think this is number 14 wire. This is what I got right here. And what I have written on here is Chinese yam, okay? You're going to find out why I'm doing all this here in a minute. Now, I also want to give a shout out to one of my listeners to the podcast who gave me this idea. Man, I really wish I could remember your name, but I'm sorry I don't, and my email dropped you off. He was the one that gave me this idea a while back, specifically this idea. Now, let's go over here and we're going to talk about what this idea is and how you can really outfit your food forest or your orchard with another great addition, and it's probably going to blow your mind. In permaculture, I want to make sure I go to zone 5, which is nature. If you look that way, you'll see it over there. And in fact, what I'm standing in is nature. But the difference is I am trying to replicate what I see the good Lord has already put in. And in most cases, if it's healthy, you're going to have 7 layers, roughly, that you can see for the most part. You got an overstory, which are the big trees, the understory, which are fruit trees like this. You got a shrub layer, which is like these blueberries I'm surrounded by. You got a herbaceous layer, you got a ground cover, you got roots, and you have vines. Okay, we've talked about a lot of those in.
One of the things we do here, and it's more a result of circumstance. When I'm mowing, I have a very hard time with the bush hog getting close to stuff. So I tend to have around trees, I tend to have an intermittent layer of taller grasses out maybe around it a foot or so, and then the shorter grass after I cut it. That happens all the way around the property. So you have this huge tree layer, you have a medium-sized brush layer up against it that I can't really trim up against, and then you have a lower layer of grasses that, depending on the time of the year, are fluctuating. So that gives animals a tremendous amount of environment. You know, they for the birds exist. You know, they can be in the tall grasses. They could be in the brush. They can be in the higher trees. You know, the prey that hunt on them can be hidden in the grasses. Could be hidden in the intermediate stuff. You know, it just I don't recall where I learned it from, but I remember learning that meadows were just important as forests, and the change from meadow to forest and forest to meadow back again is where a lot of the life exists in that intermediate layer, right? And that's what he's talking about mimicking, you know, mimicking nature, mimicking those intermediate layers that you often don't think about. You know, you think about the forest and that tall layer, and you think about prairies or grasslands, and you think about that low layer, but you don't really think about how they cross over, and there's a real sweet spot where there's a lot of life happening.
Here. And I would submit to you that there's number 8, which is the mycelial layer, and it probably ought to be in there. Okay, all of those things in this food forest, if you just kind of look around, you're going to find remnants of all of them. Out here, my overstory, which I don't necessarily need as much, is basically these black locusts out here. And in your place, it might be something very different. Well, it's a nitrogen fixer. It takes the atmospheric nitrogen, puts it down in the soil for the benefit of all my productive trees or my fruit trees around there, okay? So we're in a food forest, so things are going to look a little rougher. In addition to that, those nitrogen fixers also harbor all of the beneficial insects that are going to protect the ones that are a little more vulnerable, like my fruit trees out here. So every single layer of that food forest is going to have a nitrogen fixer in that layer. So if it's an overstory, even though there may be nut trees at that level for us, there's also going to be nitrogen fixers. At our understory, okay, for us that's fruit trees, but there's also going to be nitrogen fixers mixed in there. For us, it's false indigo. Even at the shrub layer, all the way down, for us, it's going to at least be one nitrogen fixer. And the more you can add, the better it's going to be. All the way up and down. Okay, I've said all that.
Nitrogen is a very important component to green, healthy, growing plants. You'll always hear the expression, wow, things really greened up after that rain. That's the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere that's captured in the rain. And it gives, not only does it get a hydraulic boost, you know, a boost from the water, but it gets that nitrogen boost, which really darkens things, right? Darkens and deepens the greens of it.
Say this. This is the one area I haven't spent any time at all talking about, and that is your vine layer. I have not done a single video of how you can make an edible vine layer out there. Okay, well, if you go into some of the worst parts of our food forest that are recovering, that vine layer is typically taken by poison oak. Ain't gonna be eating that.
Nope.
And you won't eat
Poison ivy.
But out here, in these areas where I have something like a nitrogen fixer, like this black locust here, all I'm doing out here is either coppicing, which means cutting it off down low, or pollarding, which I'm cutting it up high. Can I use that for something? In the past, we've shown you a video where we've staked tomatoes. That was up in the orchard section where we staked tomatoes to some of our trees, and it worked out great. Today, that's where these guys come in handy. Let's go over to another one where it makes it a little easier to film and show you exactly what I have in mind. Man, I can't even begin to tell y'all how excited I am about doing this video. I've been wanting to do this for over a year. And with all the busy things that go on, I'm just now getting around to it, but I am as happy as a puppy with 2 Peters. All right, black locust right here. But if you'll look around me, black locust popping up here, some over there, over there. We got more of a, right now, it appears to be more of a black locust food forest than it is anything else in certain spots. That is not a problem, because ultimately I'm going to go out here with my loppers or these, and I'm going to chop these guys off at the base. One of 2 things is going to happen. They're either, depending on which camp you come from, it's either going to send a bunch of exudates down there and says, okay, go out, get me some food, which is going to be helping my bacteria, my fungi, my nematodes, protozoa, all that good stuff in the soil food web, or it's going to self-prune its roots, which a lot of people also believe. it doesn't matter what camp you're in. At the end of the day, it's all beneficial to everything going on out here. So that's another video altogether. Okay, black locust. What am I going to grow up this thing? Now, folks, before I get entirely into it, I'm going to cut these guys off right here. But as I'm going, I want to point out something. These are low branches that I was going to cut off anyway, and I got to be careful because it is a black locust, and it will stick you. And also, if you have black locust out there, when they're mature like this, if they're green like this, I can chop and drop it. But when they're mature like this, you better get it out of there because one of its virtues is that it's not going to break down. So I'm going to lay this one over here, and I'm going to lay this one over here. Now, is this the best time of the year to do what I'm doing? No. But as often as I can, I'm trying to put as much of a preparedness quotient into everything I'm doing. So if you see a video from me, honestly, you ought to be asking yourself at the same time, is there a preparedness component in this? Because it is. Okay. Got me some Chinese yams. Michelle ordered these for me, and I got blue tags. Now, here's the cool thing about these. I'm not going to get anything anytime soon. I'm just going to remove, I'm in an ocean of yarrow down here, okay? So I'm just going to remove a little bit of what I need right here. And boy, that soil is fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. Good night, y'all.
That is some nice soil.
Soil covered. I barely even need the trowel. Here's what I'm going to do. Take one of these Chinese yams right here. I'm going to get it down here at the base of this tree. Cover it up. Now, what I'm off.
You know, I want to pause there for a minute, because I think what he just did was pretty remarkable. We're so accustomed to soil being something firm we can stand on. You know, something hard, you know, you bang your head on when you fall down and everything. But real soil, uninhibited, you know, not traffic on and what have you, is loose. You should be able to reach down with your hand and grab the top layer of tough, you know, grass and what have you, and yank out a huge amount of soil with it. That's the way it should be. You should be able to take your fingers and go like this and rip the thing apart, and the soil should open up for you. That's the way soil should be. But we traffic on it. You know, we mow it down so it never gets to build itself back up. The loose stuff blows away or washes away, and you're left with hard pan. But I just thought that was pretty remarkable. Like you said, that's some good soil right there.
Also going to do is basically make a mulch ring out of all this. If I had my rice knife down here, it would make it a little easier. But I'm going to take all this stuff up, and I'm basically going to make a mulch ring as far as using this yarrow around it. Okay?
That's what I do at my trees. I just rip the stuff out and put it right back down at the base.
Okay, that's where these tags come in handy. Look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that this is a black locust. But what I'm going to forget about is the fact that I got a Chinese yam placed at the bottom of it. So I'm not marking the tree in this area. I'm marking what's below it. So on the side that I have it, and this may change, all I'm going to do is take that stainless, actually, let me make a little more, instead of making it so tight like that. I made it long for a reason, which I even myself forgot. I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to twist it, and here we are. So a couple of cool things about this blue tag is, number one, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Chinese yam, it's marked. Now, is this the best time of year to do this? Absolutely not.
I think that's such a clever idea. I mean, for anything, he's marking his yams, but you could be marking your trees, you know, your shrubs, everything with a bright colored tag like that that's going to last. And what's nice about that wire is even if you do leave it too tight and the tree has to grow around it or something, it usually doesn't hurt it much. It's a small gauge wire. Oftentimes you can just wiggle it and break it off if you need to, untwist it, whatever the case may be.
I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. Number one, because we do a lot of R&D out here. This
Research and development.
But I think it's going to be all right. We'll just see, and we'll monitor it. Now, here's the beauty of this. we don't have, this isn't something, a vining layer isn't something you're necessarily going to do in a brand new food forest or an orchard. Here's why. When your trees are small, do I really want something vining up this thing?
No.
That might create a whole lot of stress, because I made that mistake in the past. I've done it before when I've had cowpea out here and it vined, 15 feet up one time. I've made the mistake with other climbing beans and stuff that have done exactly the same thing. Did it on very juvenile trees, and it just wasn't smart. Here's the beautiful thing about this. Number one, these trees are very robust. It's going to vine up here. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb because I don't have anything else vining up this tree. Now, let me cover the preparedness component of this. I've talked a lot, and I've demonstrated in the past a number of places where you can do guerrilla gardening. And some of the things that are going to stick out like a sore thumb to you, but to the regular passersby, they won't. Sweet potatoes being one of them. Regular potatoes, you would be shocked at what people will walk by and will never even consider the fact that they're walking past food, especially your tubers and things like that that grow underneath, okay? The cool thing about a Chinese yam or Japanese yam is that it's the gift that keeps on giving. They got different qualities, but when this thing, it's a perennial, y'all. I can harvest what I need when the time's right and then come back later on, replant it, do a whole lot of other things.
We often get infatuated with the annuals, right? The pumpkins and tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever, those things we grow in the garden. But perennials are where it's at. Perennials, once established and maintained, will just consistently give you food year after year after year after year. It's why we incorporate as many perennials on our property as we can, and we're always looking to add more. The annuals have their own unique qualities, flowers for pollinators and things like that. But you can even have perennial flowers, and you could establish a food forest with all these perennial flowers and fruit trees and fruit bushes and things of that nature, and pretty much just walk away from it and let it do its thing with a little bit of intervention here and there.
My friend David the Good has done a lot of really cool videos on how to do that very thing. Once again, I want to give my man David a shout out because he is, good night. If you're looking for a lot of great ideas as far as planting, gams, all these other things that are like weaved into his content in terms of preparedness, that's somebody you want to check out as well. Plus, he's legit, y'all, and I know him personally. So, this is all I'm going to do at this point.
That's a lot coming from this guy.
Planted, and I'm putting it by my nitrogen fixtures. But when you're out and about, I want you to think about this. Whether you live in an apartment complex or you live by a state park, a federal, whatever, public ground, do you think this is something you could plant on the edges of all those trees out there that only you know about? Because I guarantee 9 out of 10 people walking by now, you're not going to want to put a blue tag out there, but you might want to find some other clever ways to market. Is this something you could do right in front of everybody and you would be the only one to know about it? And I'm speaking specifically, it could be you in a city lot and you pass by public places every day. Or you people that live in an apartment and you're wondering, how on earth can I make all this stuff work? But this isn't the only place you could do it. Could you do it on your mature fruit trees? Absolutely. I'm just doing this as an example because if it were to create undue stress to this tree, this, as like I said from the very beginning, a black locust is something I can afford to lose, you see? So that's exactly why I'm using my nitrogen fixers as a scaffold for this 7th area of the food forest that I haven't really covered. Now, there's a whole lot of berries out there you can use. I'm just using Chinese yam because, like I said, it's another starch, it's another storage crop. It's something that keeps for a long time, and most importantly to us, it's perennial. Now, I got 14 left, and I have got a lot more trees to do, but this is a really good start. So whether you're doing it at home or doing it anywhere else, y'all, I'm telling you, this is a doggone winner. And once again, I want to give a shout out to that person that I just can't simply remember your name right now, but I want to thank you so much for this wonderful idea. Hey, don't forget, y'all, once again, Homesteaders United, August 29th through the 31st. I'm going to be there. 30th is my birthday. A whole lot of wonderful people are going to be there, and a lot of you out there. I'm getting excited already, as you can tell. But hey, y'all, if you need any of the stuff we have out here in this food forest, whether it's the bone sauce, you can see some remnants of it right here, whether it's the bone sauce we put on our trees, it's not a panacea, but it's the world's best deer repellent. I make it right here. Or whether it's comfrey, which we have growing everywhere. I haven't talked about that enough lately, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. Check us out at the website, y'all. That's where we got it. You need anything else, EMP Shield, Harvest Right freeze dryers, anything else, check us out down below. It helps us a great deal, and it's going to help you too. So keep in mind, y'all, it isn't just permaculture. As I've stated numerous times in the past, it's permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and I don't see a distinction between any of them. All right, hopefully this video was a blessing to you. Till next time, this is Billy from Perma Pasture Farms, where permaculture is my passion. We'll see y'all next time.